AP people, welcome back. We are moving into the Spanish-American War. I know it's been a minute since the last module, so we're going to get into this, and this one is Spanish-American War. Oh, this is interesting stuff. This is fun stuff. Focus questions I want you to do. We're going to do a three-parter, so this is like a short answer question. Identify the reasons the United States entered into the Spanish-American War. Discuss the outcomes of the Spanish-American War. Evaluate the impact of the Spanish-American War on American foreign policy. All right, let's get right into it. Now, we know that there were stuff going in Cuba that was getting American attention, that yellow journalists were really kind of going off on it and raising American passions on it. And then on February 9th, 1898, we had a battleship in Havana Harbor just chilling out there, checking to see what was going on, making sure everything was good, and, you know, basically keeping it there to make our presence known. It was the USS Maine. Now, on the night of February 9th, 1898, the USS Maine blew up. Kaboom! Okay? It blew up. Now, before any investigation could be done, before any questions could be asked, the yellow press seized on this. And all of a sudden, you start seeing all of these giant articles about the Maine. Look at this. This is the New York Journal. This was Joseph Pulitzer. Who destroyed the Maine? $50,000 reward for information. $50,000 reward. Destruction of the warship Maine was the work of an enemy. Who was it? Who blew up the Maine? Who would hate America like that? This is an act of war. We need vengeance. We need blood. So this is going to be something that is going to really drive the yellow press, and they are going to whip people up into a frenzy. Everybody's going to want to go, everybody's going to say, remember the Maine, to hell with Spain. Let's go and let's take them out. Let's declare war. McKinley was a little bit standoffish at first. He was like, we can't be certain, we got to be careful, but the public outcry was so horrendous after the Maine and after the yellow press kind of built it up that McKinley had no choice. He had to go to Congress and ask for a declaration of war. So he goes to Congress, asks for a declaration of war. People are so incensed that they get it, and in 1898, the United States of America goes to war with Spain. Now, subsequently, the Department of the Navy has done an investigation into the destruction of the battleship Maine, and it turned up it was an accident. The boiler exploded. Yeah, it was not the Spanish. It was not a Spanish mine. It was just a freak explosion that was caused by nobody. So the Spanish did not blow up the Maine. Needless to say that neither here nor there, because of the battleship Maine, because we were convinced that Spain blew it up, we go to war with Spain. So we go to war with Spain, and it's looking like this is going to be kind of a big war. Spain is a European power, and on paper they have a huge navy and a big army, but the thing is that that was on paper. A lot of their stuff is out of date. Now, America had not fought a major war since the Civil War 35 years ago, but we had industrialized by this time. We had spent a lot of money. We built up a huge navy, and our army was just itching and rearing, ready to fight. So our Navy was really, really strong. Secretary of the Navy John Long was the guy that built it up. Theodore Roosevelt was the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Theodore Roosevelt actually resigned his post as Assistant Secretary of the Navy so that he could go and enlist in the Army and form a cavalry unit known as the Rough Riders, just so he could go and fight. You know, he was not about to sit at a desk when war is going to break out. So we're going to talk about Theodore Roosevelt in a minute. You know, we're going to learn quite a bit about this guy. He's like a boss. Then we have Admiral John Dewey. Admiral John Dewey is going to take his warships into the Battle of Manila Bay out in the Philippines. He is going to like destroy the Spanish fleet. Basically, the war with Spain ain't nothing. We are going to rough them up. Speaking of roughing them up, here are the Rough Riders. And don't make any jokes here. This is Theodore Roosevelt, who resigned his cushy desk job as Assistant Secretary of the Navy because he'd be damned if there's going to be fighting and he's not involved. So we got the Cowboy Cavalry, the Rough Riders. They go out into Cuba. They actually fight the Battle of San Juan Hill, and they're going to do some damage there. Basically, the Spanish don't stand up. America's going to basically crush them like a hot knife through butter. The war lasts like 6 weeks, and we win. Now, we win the war, so we got to get the spoils. We get the stuff. All right? So, because we win the war, we get some stuff out of it. We get the Paris Peace Accords. Cuba, we were fighting for the independence of Cuba, so we couldn't take that over as a colony. But we're going to kind of transition Cuba, and we're gonna control it for a little bit. We do get part of Cuba is a permanent American naval base, and that's Guantanamo Bay. And the Cubans are still kind of upset about that we took Guantanamo Bay, and we still haven't given it back. We did take Guam and Puerto Rico from Spain as United States territories. United States territories. Guam and Puerto Rico are still controlled by the United States. They are not states, they're still territories. Puerto Ricans have been part of the United States since 1898. Coincidentally, they've been American citizens since 1917. Just last week we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Jones Act of 1917, which guaranteed American citizenship to occupants of American territories, including Puerto Rico. So Puerto Ricans have had American citizenship for over 100 years. Then we also gained the Philippines. Now, McKinley wasn't about to give Philippines their independence. He said we had to Christianize and civilize the Philippines. You know, those little brown people in Asia. That's where the Philippines are. But we did agree to pay them $20 million because we're not about to just take something for nothing. Okay, so we continued in that same tradition. Like, remember back in the Mexican-American War when we took California from Mexico, and we still paid them for it after we stole it from them. We do the same thing in the Spanish-American War. We pay Spain for the Philippines after we take it. All right, now we win this war. Now we got to actually govern, and so Philippines is very, very far from America. It is in Eastern Asia. Hawaii, which we gained earlier, becomes a territory in 1898, and that's convenient because Hawaii is going to be a way station for America. It's going to be a place where we can refill our ships. But the Philippines is going to be very different. It's very far away. The people have a very different culture, a very different religion, a very different set of values. On top of that, they're sick and tired of being ruled by other people. There was already a revolution against the Spanish, and they've been fighting against the Spanish for years. Now the Americans are coming in, and the Americans are saying, oh, we freed you from the Spanish, now we're in charge. And the Filipinos were not about to have it. They said, no, we're done fighting, we're done having somebody rule over us. So for the next 20 years, the Filipinos are going to be fighting against the Americans, and we are fighting a war of attrition in the Philippines, doing some horrible, nasty, disgusting war crimes to the Filipinos in the process of subduing them so that we can bring them our culture and civilization, quote unquote. As we're going to see from our readings in class, this is a very ugly period in American history. And this is one of the things that we gain from the Spanish-American War. So the Spanish-American War takes 6 weeks, but we're fighting in the Philippines for 20 years. All right, Puerto Rico and Cuba. All right, we gained Puerto Rico. It was impoverished agricultural land. The Foraker Act of 1900 gave Puerto Rico some degree of self-rule. The Jones Act 1917 gives Puerto Ricans American citizenship. However, Puerto Rico is still in American territory today. There's some people that think, okay, it's not so bad being in American territory, but there's other people that think it should be a state. Some people think that Puerto Rico should be independent. But basically, Puerto Rico, even though they're covered under America, they're an American territory. They do have some degree of self-rule, but they can't vote in American elections. They have no representation in American government, and they don't have full rights. Cuba, on the other hand. Cuba has an American military government set up at first. We set up an education program, we improve agriculture, medicine, we destroy yellow fever. That was the work of Walter Reed, who the medical hospital is named after today. Basically that's where the mosquito theory came up, that we figured out the mosquitoes were the ones that caused yellow fever. 1901, the United States passes the Platt Amendment, which guarantees Cuba's independence. We granted Cuban independence in 1901 after ruling it for a time, but we did continue to intervene for some time in Cuban affairs. So even though we gave them their independence, we didn't quite give them their full independence. And we also did take a naval base in Guantanamo Bay, which we still control today. All right, now, because of the Spanish-American War, the United States becomes a full-on empire, okay? We now control the Philippines, we control Puerto Rico, we control all of these lands from sea to shining sea. Beyond the sea to shining sea, we control in the Atlantic, we control in the Pacific. Now we join the club of imperialist nations in Europe. We're part of that club now, and being part of that club, that's going to get us some respect overseas, but it's also going to basically tie us more into foreign affairs, because now we have to intervene with these countries. We have to go and take care of the problems. We can't just tuck tail and hide behind other things. If they have a problem with a European country, now we got to go and take care of it. So now we're more and more tied to them. So let's go back to our focus questions. Identify the reasons. I want indirect and direct reasons why the United States is going to get involved in the Spanish-American War. Discuss the outcomes of the Spanish-American War and evaluate the impact of the Spanish-American War on American foreign policy. Should be easy. This is a 12-minuter. I will take no late work on this one. Zero excuses, people. Have a great day.